Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Friday edition of Mornings with the Outlaw here from the Outlaw Nation studios. I am one of your hosts, John Rocha, joined now, as always, with my special guest. They're from St. Louis, Missouri, Alex Shashek. How are you, Alex?
I've been better with everything going on. It's like I mentioned before we started recording, it's not the greatest recent news has not made it the greatest start to the day. However, we're going to get through this. It's okay. We have each other.
Yes. Certainly some sad news about Ian Holm passing away this morning, for those of you who may not have heard, and we'll get into that a little bit later on in the show. But we'd be remiss not to mention today the remembrance of Juneteenth. So for those of you who are joining us live, thank you very much. And for those of you who are commemorating this day and holding a remembrance vigil or ceremony for this day, the importance of this day, we send our hearts and our thoughts of comfort and our love to all of you. As you remember this day, commemorate this day in your own fashion. We are with you as well. We know this is an incredibly important day for members of the African American community, and we are with you always. Anything to add to that, Alex?
I honestly think you hit the nail right on the head.
Okay.
This is, it's an important day, and I'm glad that we're going to be talking about it. And if you're not sure what this day is all about, do some research.
Yes,
it's definitely an important day, not for just people within the African American and Black community, but for everyone. And just in general. So definitely do some research if you're not familiar, and get learning.
Yeah, there you go. Good point. If nothing else, today is a great day to educate yourself on why this day is so important to so many people around the world, and what it means and signifies, especially in the year we've been having, and of course with the recent Black Lives Matters protests as well. It carries an even more powerful significance this year than ever before. So we just want to send our thoughts out to everybody who is commemorating this day. But today we're going to get into a lot of news stories, entertainment stories, everything like that. And of course, the Streamlabs and the Super Chats are open. Already got a Streamlabs that came through, so we'll get to that after we hit through the first story. So let's jump into it now, and that is the Justice League. Zack Snyder has released yesterday, he debuted a sneak peek of the Snyder Cut, his unreleased version of the 2017 superhero film. The new footage, which we're going to take a look at in just a second, it runs at 34 seconds. It runs for 34 seconds. You have Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman in there. She comes across an artifact in a cave, which of course looks very much like the old school Dark Side with the helmet and the whole nine, the sleeveless armor jacket that he wears. And you hear Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor saying, "The bells are, and they've heard it out in the dark among the stars." And then we see what we have been teased with for quite some time by Zack Snyder, a Dark Side out amongst the battlefield. Let's take a look at that now before we talk about it. Let me bring it up here, and boom.
The bell's already been rung, and they've heard it. Out in the dark among the stars. Ding dong. The god is dead.
Well, Alex, if you're gonna, we talked about fist pumping moments Wednesday on SEN Live, and that's certainly a fist pumping moment when Darkseid shows up. What's your overall reaction to this 34-second clip from Zack Snyder?
I'm just excited for Gal Gadot, because she's beautiful in every single way. Right. It is an interesting choice of the narrator, I guess, with Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, because his character in particular, a lot of people, obviously unanimously love Gal, as Wonder Woman, with Batfleck and all that good stuff. But when it comes to Jesse Eisenberg, even now, his character gets a lot of hate.
Yes. Yeah,
and it's kind of funny that, in the first teaser we get from Zack Snyder, sure, we do get, Gal right up front and center, which I love. But at the same time, it's Jesse Eisenberg. So it sounds we're going to get a lot more Lex Luthor, which I am excited about his character. Sure. I love his character. But it's also Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. So
yeah, it's a good point you bring up. There is a lot of hate for Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. There are people who defend it for sure, but there is a majority opinion seems to be that they don't appreciate what he did with the Lex Luthor, his approach to Lex Luthor. A lot of rumors that he had been preparing Riddler for the movie, and they changed their minds at the last minute and asked him to do Lex Luthor. And he said, well, look, I've already prepared to play the character this way, so I'm just going to change my preparation and put it towards Luthor and make it similar to what I was doing already for the Riddler. That rumor's been out there. So I think he did this as a harbinger, right? Because that's what he served as, because that dialogue obviously is taken from the end of BVS. And so he is essentially kind of he's like John the Baptist in an evil John the Baptist for an evil Christ-like figure or God figure in Apocalypse. So he is, Darkseid. And so he's laying the groundwork for Darkseid coming. So I don't know if we'll get a lot of him. Maybe he's only being used as this, and then we'll get more Darkseid that like Snyder had planned, and then we'll get some Luthor, but not as much as maybe the trailer, this 34-second trailer might show you. So we'll see. I like the idea that we finally get to see Darkseid like moving in action, and the ship's all behind. That's badass as hell, and the score is fantastic. They're making it all feel real epic. I dug that. But what are the writings on the cave? What do they symbolize? Of course, Diana would know, because Diana, of course, is centuries old. So Diana would know what those markings might mean. So a little bit of mystery. I think it's brilliant. 34 seconds, just enough to tease you. We got that DC Fandom coming on August 22nd. We'll see who shows up for that. Will Cavill come back? Will Affleck come back? Who's going to show up to have conversations for the fans? But I think this is a great way to get people excited about it. Little teasers like this are probably going to be what they're dropping until this thing comes out next year. But it seems like the right way to get you kind of in the mood, right? Just a little bit, just a taste, and then boom.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the point of a teaser is really just to get you warmed up, just a little excited. It's not meant to, get you to buy a movie ticket. It's not meant to, get you subscribed to a service. It's really just to get you curious, really get you talking to your friends about it. Hey, have you seen this, that? Get you sharing it on social media. And I think it definitely did pretty fantastic when it came to that. I also, I'm not going to lie, like my first, I was actually listening to Cinephiles yesterday. I was doing the yard, listening to an older episode with Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Yes.
That's my favorite indie movie. Yeah. But there's this, but you were talking about, because of that, that's like so fresh in my mind. My first thought was like, hey, I'm getting some Indie Jones vibes because of like the lighting, and she's like in this like with her like archaeologist outfit situation. And I was like, historian Wonder Woman. I'm so here for it.
Right. I mean, and that'll come to play in Wonder Woman 1984 as well. Come into play in Wonder Woman 1984 with Cheetah, with Kristen Wiig's character. So that, because she's an archaeologist as well, and so like, where's that? How's that going to be connected in the sequel? We'll see. And look, I know that Justice League is not supposed to necessarily be canon. But you never know if maybe WB and Zach are talking about laying little hints or little groundwork here that kind of connect back into Wonder Woman 1984. Who knows? But it'll be a little interesting stuff, to put in to play with. So I'm excited to see it as well. I'm just happy that this is happening. And so little things like that. And this is the strategy that Zack Snyder used before to get people on board to push WB to release this Snyder cut. So why break? Why go away from something that's been working the whole time? So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Is that what it is? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah. So it's working just fine. So more of this will be coming, I'm sure, because this is Zack Snyder's mode of promoting Justice League. So I can't wait, and let you know that already there's footage out there that he is messing with, and we shall see how that plays out.
It's just moving along so fast, which I'm very excited about. I was like, out of nowhere, I was like, where did this come from? I was like, what?
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. I'm super excited about it. We shall see.
Yeah.
All right. Listen, the super chats are up. Please send in some super chats, some Streamlabs. Let's get some questions going, some comments, whatever you guys want us to talk about this morning, or whatever questions you want to have answered by Alex and I. We are ready. We're ready to believe you. So please send in your stuff. Let's move on to our other big story, Alex, here, and that is AMC theaters. This is massive, massive, massive. AMC released their approach to rolling out their opening up their movie theaters here. They expect to resume their operations in 450 of their locations on July 15th, and they expect to be fully operational by the time Mulan debuts on July 24th, and then Tenet bows on July 31st. Tenet has been moved, but Mulan only got moved to July 24th and has not been subsequently moved. So right now, they're planning on opening up and then having everything available by July 24th. They are reducing their seating capacity. They're implementing new cleaning procedures, placing hand sanitizing stations throughout its theaters, and encouraging contactless and cash-free concessions. Adam Aaron, who's the AMC CEO and president, said in an interview with Variety, "We didn't rush to reopen. There were some jurisdictions in some states, such as Georgia and Texas, that allowed people to reopen theaters in mid-May. We opted to remain closed so we could give the country time to get a better handle on coronavirus. We wanted to use this time to figure out how best to open and how to do it safely." Regal and Cinemark announced their plans already, and AMC is, in a desperate situation here. We'd heard that, they're very close. They were very close to bankruptcy. They had acquired their rivals Odeon Cinemas, UCI Cinemas, and Carmike Cinemas, which put them $5 billion in debt. So they were very, very close to bankruptcy and almost went into Chapter 11. They think by making these decisions to open like this, they're going to avoid Chapter 11. But Alex, I'm concerned about this as we see the two states he mentioned, Georgia and Texas, Florida. There are 20 states that have so far had their numbers spike, their cases spike, rushing to reopen their businesses. I don't know. I feel like this is irresponsible and desperate. What's your feeling about it?
They've been down for 4 months.
Yes,
and
true.
I know you've mentioned it in a previous episode that the theater business in particular is one of the worst to be hit when it comes to, economically speaking with the virus, unfortunately. That and like theme parks and stuff, right. All that good stuff. But, hearing this, there is to a certain point, I was like, you know what? I'm under this. I'm like, maybe I am a little more comfortable. I would see Mulan in theaters. Maybe. Okay. Just talk about, between the cashless concession stands, the sanitation services, they're gonna not do as many people in the theater, and then a little bit later, it hurt my heart a little bit. But he said that guests are not required to wear masks because, and I quote, "we don't want to get political."
I don't want to go off on a tangent, but it is not political to save lives. It is human to save lives. It has nothing to do with politics. The other side turned it into politics. Normal, rational, logical, intelligent people know wearing the masks is not just good for you, it's good for me too. And so, I don't understand that they're not going to require people to wear masks. They're not going to do temperature checks before people go into theaters. Nothing about this makes me want to go see a movie. And I am concerned for me personally, as a guy who runs a YouTube channel now and wants to get into screenings and watch these movies. Will there be concessions made for those of us who don't want to go into a theater and see these movies? Will we be able to get these screeners at home as digital links that we can watch? Or will we be forced to have to go into theaters for screenings and be exposed to possibly getting this thing? It's crazy to me, and I don't think it sends the right message. I think it sends an irresponsible, sad message that they're kowtowing to a loud minority about the mask situation.
I think it depends state to state, because I'm here in Missouri where we haven't had we haven't had many cases at all. Here in Missouri, we're doing pretty fantastic. Not to brag, but that's so ridiculous. I have to brag
congrats to you all. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. No big deal. So I would probably be a little more comfortable doing it here in St. Louis, where it's not as big of a deal. However, obviously, if you're going to theaters, if I were in a theater where, like in Texas, where a lot of my friends live down in Texas, and they keep telling me maybe over 50% of people like walking down the street are not wearing any kind of form of mask.
Yeah.
That's the issue. Now here in St. Louis, everyone is wearing masks. I went to Target to grab some supplies the other day. Every man, woman, and child were wearing masks.
That's awesome.
There was a station set up and everything. So I would be a little more comfortable doing it here. Yeah. But I mean, elsewhere where it's a lot more divided about the opinions of masks in general, I would feel a lot more uncomfortable. So I am very blessed in that regard as well. Now I do know, I just know that, the president, AMC and President Adam Aaron, he's doing the best that he can. I understand that. It's just, there's no good way to go about this, honestly. So I know there's a lot of people in the chat being like, corporations asking employees and patrons for profit are prioritizing this over health concerns and everything like that. It's just, this conversation is not going to end for a very long time. Not only the theater businesses, should all theaters just completely discontinue for another year and a half until we actually get comfortable? That's not going to happen. Yeah. And that applies to all businesses as well. So we seriously do, I feel like as a whole, need to get a lot more comfortable with the mask situation, but I know it's not going to happen.
I know it's a little frustrating, Alex. You see this, as you said, Aaron said, we won't be drawn into a political controversy. We thought it might be counterproductive. We forced mask wearing. You're not forcing. You're a business, and as a business, you have a right to say you cannot come in here unless you wear a mask. I'm not forcing you to wear a mask. I'm telling you can't come in unless you wear a mask.
But so most movie theaters, movie theaters, AMC movie theaters are in the Midwest, and in the Midwest, like I said, here in obviously Texas and Georgia and everything is very different from like Minnesota and Illinois and Missouri and everything, because those states in particular, all the Midwest states where people are wearing masks and it's not spreading at the same rate. Yeah, exactly. Not nearly. And because we take it a lot more seriously. Go figure.
Yeah, it's frustrating. But LA County has had the highest spikes over the last few days. And I'm driving around and I'm seeing people not wearing masks. I'm seeing people not practicing social distance and sitting in restaurants, whatever. And we're supposed to be the most liberal city on the planet, this side of New York, or in the country rather. And I see people ignoring these rules, like flouting them, like just being lackadaisical and self-destructive and possibly hurting other people. And it's like, this is going to be in movie theaters as well, in an enclosed space. People will be in here, and not to bash AMC too much, because you have to give them credit that they are leaning heavily on technological solutions, such as deploying electrostatic sprayers, HEPA vacuums, upgraded MERV 13 ventilation filters, which would eliminate airborne particles and reduce the chance that COVID-19 could be spread there inside a concealed area. Also, they're selling masks for $1 for people to buy to be in there, and they're slowly rolling out the amount and the capacity of the seating in their theater. They're going to start out with only 30% for every showtime, then eventually 40, then 50, and then eventually it'll be full by Labor Day, and then full capacity by Thanksgiving. And I kind of blame Christopher Nolan a little bit here. Nolan seems to be so determined to put his film out by July 31st. Keep saying that. They haven't told me the movement date. I need my film to come out by then. It's like, dude, honestly, your film is that important that you're going to force theater chains to put these things in motion to get people into the I don't know. It's a weird situation to me that I get. I think Nolan's fine financially if his film is delayed another 6 months. He'll be fine. So I just wonder what is the drive or what is the motivation here overall, because I think it's irresponsible as hell to be rushing back into concealed areas to be possibly exposed to this stuff. And if these cases start to spike, it almost feels like people are like, That's just part of the business. And I don't want that. I don't want American citizens dying at high rates because people got to see a movie, for God's sakes. I just don't think it's that important.
I heard on an episode of Sun the other day, Kate was talking about how people are craving that sense of normalcy.
Yes. True.
And there is a sense that people are now more than ever, self-care as far as, being by themselves, with their sometimes people are with their families and friends and roommates and everything.
Yeah.
But some people are isolated and, where this idea that, they're going really stir crazy and it's almost just as impactful to their health as actually physically being out there. Now, I'm not saying that, being, locking yourself up, to avoid a lot of these situations, unfortunately, is what you need to do in order to get through this. Yeah. But what I'm just saying is that for some people, it's worth the risk for their own personal mental health because a lot of people are going through severe anxiety, depression, and I know like a lot of, I personally know several friends and family members that have, that have a lot of these issues and they're just saying, I can't do my usual routine and I'm freaking out and I don't know how to process this. And that's making this whole situation 10 times worse. And
it's a great point, Alex. I apologize to those people who feel like I may sound inconsiderate to that. That's fair. I have my own anxiety issues. I have my own stuff, but staying at home does not induce them. Going out and seeing people not wearing masks does induce them. So I'm on the other side of it, but I do get it that people want to kind of feel that sense of normalcy and are desperate to have it come back because like you said, for their own mental health or their own feeling that the world is back in order in the way that they need it to function. I totally get it. Like I said, like we're saying, it's a more complex issue. I err on the side of trying to save lives, but I absolutely understand that some people need this to kind of be able to function. Like I saw people at the gym and I'm like, that's the last place I would ever go to right now is a gym, mask or not. It's the last place I would ever go to.
I miss it so much.
If I was in Missouri and it seemed safe, maybe I would go. But here, no. And I know Rick Samoris was like, well, remember, there's a lot of Republicans in Cali. Yes, but not in LA County, not in Los Angeles proper. There's not that many. So I think it's across the political divide. People are desperate to just go back to the way things were. And I think it's dangerous.
I think we also need to make face masks sexy or something. I think we need to make it a trend. We need to make it fashionable. No, I can't find you attractive because if you're going outside to a theater without a mask, loser. Obviously, not a cool person. We need to make them cool because we're making it seem like the idea of wearing a mask is a joke almost. But we need to make them seem not only incredibly necessary for overall health, but we actually need them for people to actually want to wear them as well.
Yeah.
So just saying, y'all.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point. There's a lot of people are saying, a lot of people commenting in the chat, how can you say no shirts, no shoes, no service, but still the mask is an issue? It's the same thing. You're forcing people to wear shirts. You're forcing people to wear shoes, and not wearing a shirt and not wearing shoes does not put anybody's life in jeopardy. So it's so ironic that you're okay to be able to put that out there for people, but but wearing a mask, which could save lives, is somehow considered not appropriate, which is by some people. So it's insane to me. Malcolm's Middle Earth. Hey, Malcolm, good to see you, man. He said, I don't mean to brag, but we are doing fantastic in New Zealand. You are. It's not ideal, but this won't go away, and there's no way of knowing how long they would be closed. Very true, Malcolm. And you're right. Your prime minister, I mean, listen, nothing makes me want to move to New Zealand more than your prime minister. She is incredible. I mean, she, what she did after the shootings that happened there and now with this coronavirus thing, making all the right decisions. You guys should reelect her for life, in my opinion.
You mean a dictator?
No, more of a benevolent, I don't know, dictator. Doesn't have to necessarily.
A benevolent dictator?
Yeah, some people have taken the term dictator, and you can have good dictators, I feel like. Don't you? Your dad is a dictator. Your dad tells you what to do. Your mom tells you what to do. Those are in essence dictators, but they have your best interest in mind, right? A teacher is good. A good teacher is a good dictator. Has your best interest. Somebody gift that picture of Alex right now. I'm just saying, there's possibilities to have people who have your best interest in mind.
What?
Just saying, it's possible. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. Scan for Greatness says,
that's a whole conversation right there.
It is. He says, yeah, we Texans are crazy. LOL. I don't deny that. I don't deny that. There were some great kings in the past. I'm just saying. Think about that. They were in essence.
Yeah, they're also dictators. 90% awful, but
Sure. Absolutely. I'm just saying that it's possible. I'm not saying you have to put in.
Yeah, it's also possible for Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull to be a good movie, but we're not getting it. What about it?
Well, some people would say that is a good movie.
People are allowed to be wrong. However, people are allowed to say wrong things, like parents can be dictators.
I'm saying parents,
benevolent dictators.
Yes, because they have your best interest in mind. They tell you what you can eat. They tell you where to go. They your parents never did that?
A little bit, but I lived on military bases my entire life, and my parents pretty much kicked me out of the house at 8:00 in the morning, and they're like, "Be back for dinner."
Wow. Okay.
That's all they pretty much told me. Well, it's also a very different living on a base as well, because you're given my parents gave me a lot more freedom.
Yeah.
Because of that, they'd be like, "Okay, here's $5. Go to the pool, do whatever. I'll give you a better face, Minnie."
That's a good one.
I'm real.
I like this. Ben Rader's like, I don't think you're using the word right.
But okay, that's just me though. I know my parents even mentioned as well that I also pretty much was raised as with single parents up until late middle school, early high school, because one all cases one parent was gone for different points during med school and all that good stuff. So, but as a result, though, my parents gave me a lot of extra, I don't want to say attention, but they definitely gave us a lot of situations where Alex, you need to get your shit together and don't be a weenie.
Yeah.
I remember being 10 years old. My mom's like, you need to get yourself together. You need to figure it out. If you miss the bus, if you lose your phone, you need to figure it out.
Wow.
Pull yourself together and learn.
That sounds.
And I remember being like, "Okay, Mom."
Yeah.
That's a whole thing. That's a whole thing. So that's off topic. I apologize.
I don't think so. It sounds like a dictator to me. I give her props. She had your best interest in mind. Some love for Alex's fresh cut, looking good. Did you get a haircut, Alex?
Yeah, I cut about 8.5 inches, I want to say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. My lady's getting her cut today. Let's see what happens. Oh, it was down there? Okay.
Yeah, it was down here.
All right. Respect. I apologize for not noticing. I'm a terrible co-host.
Offended.
I know I'm a terrible co-host.
Very offended.
All right, we got some Streamlabs that are rolled through here. But I want to give some love to people who've subscribed to the channel over the last 24 hours as well. I forgot to do that at the top of the show. Django Fett, Zombie J, Clay23, APHPJ, Chicago Gamer 945 Ultimate, Adam Trishchuk, Robert Collins, and Leo Villafane. Thank you so much. Leo Villafane just subscribed a minute ago, so thank you so much for coming aboard the Outlaw Nation train. You got some Streamlabs here. Storm Shadow Rocks donated. He said, John McClane, the everyman, always getting the job done. Quote in LFDH, Live Free or Die Hard, sums it up, because there's nobody else to do it right now. That's why. Believe me, if there was somebody else to do it, I'd let them do it, but there's not, so we're doing it. Okay? Of course. I want to make a statement there. Monkey Ball DJs, I will answer your question on our live episode of Strong Style later on today at 4 p.m. BT. He's asking if Vince will actually do the right thing and stop, and that's Vince McMahon, and we'll deal with that down the road on the appropriate show. Michael Nip donated, said, R.I.P. Sir Ian Holm. Yes, an absolute legend, BAFTA winner, Tony winner, and Oscar nominee. If you never saw his performance in The Sweet Hereafter, it is a must-see. He will be greatly missed. Yeah, The Sweet Hereafter, fantastic Adam McGowan film that people have kind of forgotten about now in the long run as one of these interesting independent films that is an emotional journey to go through for sure. A very wrenching emotional journey. Monkey Ball DJs, Outbreak is the scariest movie I ever seen. We are in that movie. Alex, are we in Outbreak?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
All right.
Also, that movie's low-key racist, but, that's a whole other conversation.
Oh, my God. Okay. I have not seen it enough to offer my opinions on that. I only seen it twice. There's 158 of you all watching us right now, but only 63 likes. Swing that mouse over, or swing that cursor over and hit the like button, hit the thumbs up button. Get us over 100 likes as soon as possible. We'd really appreciate it. And shout out to our moderators today, Sean Barrett, who's rolling in there doing his best there with the moderating. Thank you, Sean. Really appreciate it. Jake Iacovetta clearly working today, so couldn't jump in to moderate today, but he is, of course, responsible for the graphics and the thumbnail. Alex, what are we on to next? What's our next story here?
Well, okay, so we have, I think, one of my favorite promotions. We had a movie. I don't know if you heard of it. It's a little horror movie called Candyman.
Oh, okay, yes, Candyman.
Candyman is actually coming to director. It's actually directed by Nia DaCosta. You know, she recently on Twitter shared a very creepy, haunting little prologue. I think it's a little just gonna get us warmed up. For the Candyman coming up later this fall in September. Right. And it's really interesting. It's supposed to be okay. So just want to give you a little extra clarification. This fall's adaptation of Candyman is supposed to be a spiritual sequel to the 1992 horror movie starring Tony Todd, obviously, and Virginia Madsen. Now, Candyman is at the intersection of white violence and black pain. It is about willing martyrs, the people they were, the symbols we turn into, and the monsters we are told they must have been. And that is a quote by Nia DaCosta as well as when she provided this little prologue she did. Yeah. So it's beautifully done. It's actually like a little puppet video. There you go. It's actually really great. So the music is by Lynchins. I feel like Lynchins. Okay. But the actual puppeteering is by Emmanuel Cinema. So it's really great. If you haven't had a chance, it's like 45 seconds long, and it's really beautiful the way they do it. It's really dark, really creepy, and I loved it. But there's a lot of political references regarding the African American history, and slavery here in the U.S. And there's a lot of references pretty consistently throughout. What was your kind of gut reaction overall watching it? Not going into a lot of specifics about it. I was going to dive into that later, but I mean, like, just watching it, how did you feel?
Well, I thought it was very prescient for and incredibly on point for what we are experiencing right now in such larger ways. In all our media and in all areas of our world, we're seeing statues being taken down or ripped down. We're seeing people getting called out. We're seeing cops police getting arrested for past murders or crimes. We're seeing, the calls for changes to names of buildings. We're seeing chants being taken down in sports. Where now, I just saw this morning, the SEC commissioner requesting that Mississippi change their flag, their actual flag, to take down any reference to the Confederate flag, because they want everybody to be able to come to Mississippi in any college in Mississippi and play athletics, whatever athletics, and not feel marginalized by the state flag. So this is all happening. And then the Black Lives Matters protests as well. All of this is happening in such large and strong ways. Even Trump was okay saying that Colin Kaepernick should come back and play in the NFL, and then signed that the supposed police reform executive order. So clearly, the idea of racism in this country is being addressed in a strong manner in a number of venues. Now, when you're doing puppeteering and animation, that takes a lot of time. So the fact that this is dropping right now lets you know that somehow they had their finger on the pulse of this happening in some strong way. And of course, Jordan Peele has done this already with Get Out and with Us, layering social messages inside those two horror films. No surprise here as the producer of Candyman that he is layering another social message about racism within this film as well. And these animated three little short stories they weave together here was fantastic to watch and got me into. Because I mean, Candyman's not one of my favorites. To me, it's a little cheesy. So I loved it. Yeah, I know people do love it, so I won't fault that. But like, to me, this excites me to see his version of it as a producer. And of course, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II being a part of this thing, Nathan Stewart, Jarrett Tayona Paris, and Coleman Domingo as well. So overall, I love this as a thing to get you excited for this movie at the same level that I enjoyed Zack Snyder's 34-second tease as well. So two smart moves, I think, from both of these films.
Absolutely. Well, Candyman, when it was released in 1992, it was very upfront about its political messages. It's intense symbolism. It was very upfront about, hey, we're talking about systemic racism. We're talking about, issues the police has with people of color, especially people in the African American community, and there's a huge history there, obviously, but there's a lot of references in this little movie. So maybe if you're not into like maybe horror thriller movies, I still think you can really enjoy this. There's a lot of subtle referencing. There's a brief montage at the very beginning before you kind of you see Candyman painting his lady. There's a brief montage of a young boy actually that is at one point like riding a bike, and he's taken away by cops, and he's being pointed at, and he ends up being put in the electric chair. Now, this is a reference to a real story. Unfortunately, a little boy named George Junior Stinney Jr., who actually died via the electric chair. He's actually the youngest person in U.S. history to die from the electric chair after he was convicted. Sorry, this is really rough. So he was convicted guilty, by an all-white trial, essentially.
Yeah, jury.
But yes, jury. Thank you. But they thought at the time that he killed two little white girls, 7 and an 11-year-old, and it was really, really bad. Now, looking back on it, they said that he confessed, and it was like a whole thing. There's a lot of holes in the court case. There's like 1,000,001 issues, obviously. And now we acknowledge that, everything that happened in that story is a bad thing. But, you should not be 14 years old. He's literally picked up riding his bike. And, when that happened by the cops. And that wasn't too far off. I mean, that was only that wasn't like in the late 1800s. That was only a few decades ago. And there's a lot of references to this. And, that, and you can kind of go into like how that's referencing between the artist and, his, with the Candyman, his hand being, taken off, and he's being thrown into the fire, so there's a lot of this idea that, I shouldn't have to, these children, these people that are dying, they shouldn't have to be a martyr. They shouldn't have to be put on this pedestal and, be put in these horrible situations, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's no lie there. And that's the unfortunate truth. But I like that they're using this format to showcase this. And I'm curious to see how they creatively connect these stories into the story of Candyman. So, of course, in the original film, I think he's killed by a racist group of people. They kill him for being with a white woman way back when, and what that's all about. And so he enacts his vengeance. What's that?
He was a painter. He was being paid to paint a plantation's daughter.
Yeah.
Ended up getting pregnant with their child. And once they realized, this is clearly not a white child, they cut off his hand, covered him in honey.
Yeah. So it's all part of that, which is why the bees are a part of the bees. But bees. So that's all part of. So I'm excited for it. I love this as a promo. It's a great way to get you. And the director guaranteed that this stuff will be in the movie. These kinds of things will be in the movie. The puppeteering, the animation. It's very reminiscent of what we saw in Deathly Hallows when they're telling the story of the three brothers. So I like that it kind of got that vibe going as well. So, and I really enjoyed that section of the movie very much. So to see this kind of inventiveness in the Candyman approach already tells me that it's a kind of more of an elevated take on this particular story, and I can't wait to see it. So I'm excited for that. Okay,
very well, let us
right. Let us know what you think about the first half of the show. What do you think about the animation here from Candyman, or the preview from Zack Snyder, or AMC opening up in the comments section below? In case you're watching us after we've already recorded this live, let us know your thoughts down there. The more comments you leave, the more likes you leave. Please keep hitting that thumbs up button. It gets us higher up in the algorithm of YouTube, gets us noticed a little bit more. Alex, let's take a quick break to plug some stuff. What have you got going on here?
Oh my gosh, yo. Okay, so I'm just gonna put on my admin voice.
Please.
Okay, so last night Ben Bateman. He won one of his final spots for Schmo Bates, and it was a really fun time. He argued in favor of himself, obviously had a handful of points.
He argued in favor of himself?
Well, okay, so one of the questions was what single league competitor so far would be best played in multiple leagues. Now, because singles and teams are kind of, I don't want to say they're the same league, but a lot of competitors, they're very similar. They have the same competitors. I pretty much said, in the private chat that those are considered one league in this for this question, for this argument. So Ben Bateman, he chose Dan Murrell. And so his argument was that although it's never been announced, scratch that, it has been announced that he's going to be playing in IG, that, he hasn't actually played yet. And it was like a really great, I'm not going to lie, I don't think that was the greatest pick. But, but also he went up against James White, who actually chose Ben Bateman. And so it was really kind of funny to...
He had to argue against. Oh, I see what you mean. He had to argue against himself, not for himself.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you're right. Yes.
So he had to take himself down. Wow.
Yes. So he was just like,
brilliant choice by James White.
There was a whole thing would be like, I would never want to do that. I would do really poorly. If I had done it, I would have done it ages ago and blah, blah, blah. I would never do it now. And James is like, you've mentioned in the past on these 10 episodes, episode 156, episode 109, that these episodes and he whipped out the quotes. And I was like, oh, James.
Wow. People got time, apparently. Yeah. Wow.
Well, he's just like, he mentioned that he said that he would be the best Star Wars competitor if he was given 3 months to prep for the Star Wars.
He did say that on backstage, right?
Yeah. He not only mentioned that, but he mentioned that if he was given a finite set of movies like in IG, that's what they do, that he would be pretty darn amazing. But he doesn't want to now more than ever, just because the competition is just too hard. Too difficult.
Well, to be fair, I've been talking about being in the Star Wars division for 2 years. So, but yeah, I respect that. I respect that him wanting to.
I'm still waiting for you to come out in Star Wars. I was so disappointed that you weren't picked. Understandably, Andrew DiMolanta, obviously, but at the same time, I was just like. There's another mention of you wanting to, come in Star Wars.
And it's fair. It's fair to call me out on that. I was fair. I was given the option by Tom, but I said to Tom.
Over Andrew?
No, as a play-in, a possible play-in, an extra player in the league. Extra player from our faction could have possibly been considered for the situation. Certainly not over Andrew, but it would have been a possible play-in game. Just to see. And Molly Damon kind of calling me out going, when is Rocha coming and I could use a win? That's exciting for me too. I mean, I like when people discount me and think they're going to get an easy victory against me. It's always one of my favorite things in the world. So we'll see. But I applaud Ben wanting to jump into Star Wars as well. I think he would. I think his approach to the game would be very interesting to see if he could do it in 3 months. In fact, if you could time him and say okay, announce it just randomly. All right, Ben, you have 3 months from here. Your first match is in 3 months. It would be very interesting to see how he would do and how he would prepare as well. So I'd be curious too. And both of us are going to get into it maybe someday down the road in Star Wars. That'd be fun to take our rivalry into a whole new league. It'd be hilarious. We'll see. What is Ben Welling crowing about? I've won every match in the Star Wars tourney so far. From your home, Ben. Why don't you join a fan league and get in there and get a name for yourself as a competitor, and then maybe you could be considered for the big time, kid. Go and make your bones. That's how it works. See, all the people who've come out of the fan leagues, they've all made their bones and they've all fought hard. That's how you do it. Too many people want to just jump up into the main roster and think they can compete. That's not how it goes. Go ahead.
I also want to point out that you talked about how, you're sitting at home and doing it. All the competitors for the tournament are literally sitting at home.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, true for now.
In the tournaments.
We're doing this. The whole time.
So, it's a whole thing. But it was kind of funny just because I know I've been accused of cheating in the past in the fan leagues personally.
You have really? You've been accused of cheating?
Several times.
Ridiculous.
It's just so bonkers. It's so stupid. But it's not even something I would even it's not something that would even occur to me to cheat, just because when it comes to the fan leagues and everything, I do this for fun. I don't do this because I need to, because I have aspirations to be on Schmodown or anything like that. It's just because I am doing it just because I like to have fun and hang out with my competitors and cheer them on and help them strategize and train them.
Absolutely.
Now, would I want to risk my reputation on participating as a manager in the fan leagues when the fan leagues don't really matter?
Ooh, wow.
Like, no, I mean, like, I don't say that. No, not like when I say that, it's just that they don't matter in the sense, this is not going to impact my long-term life goals. This is not going to help me make money. This is not going to affect my real life situation. So why would I want to risk that for something so small?
Interesting.
So ridiculous.
The opinions of Alex Shashek are the opinions of Alex Shashek's alone. I'm happy to promote the fan leagues. I think they're great. But yeah.
But people aren't like calling you out. I mean, like versus like Schmodown, people are watching you. You have the attention. That makes sense. And not to say I would do it. It's just that I could understand, I've heard some people say it's like, oh, you don't care about, it's like, if you never really thought about cheating to some degree, smidgen, and even jokingly, it's a proof that you don't care enough. Right. So it's like, I remember being in high school and people would be like, hey, how can we cheat on the ACTs? And I was like, what? But at the same time, we're like, well, if you haven't considered cheating on the ACTs, you don't care enough about going to college. Right. Like, I remember that whole conversation coming about, but I kind of applied that thought process to this, and I'm like, what? Why?
And Ben Weather's cracking me up. He's like, the fan leagues are too small for me. No one's going to watch your matches, Ben. Get in the fan leagues, earn your bones. That's how it works. Yeah. In real life, you have to earn stuff.
Yeah, I also say that as a manager, it's the family competitors are very intense, like the training process. Yeah. And, it's easy to say that, you do well in it. But once you get that timer going, once you have the pressure on you, once you have people telling you you are a horrible person and you need to get your shit together because you don't know this flight number.
Yeah.
Or ship number. The approach is a little bit different. Your reaction is a little bit different. Just want to let you know. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, there are a lot of really great competitors, potential competitors out there. You might succeed. You might shit your pants. Who knows? We will never know unless you get in the fan leagues and prove yourself.
Exactly. No one gets plucked from obscurity in the Schmodown anymore. That doesn't happen.
Unless you live in LA.
No.
Like the Barbarian or something.
Well, the Barbarian.
Unless you're like the Barbarian, he wasn't part of the fan leagues. He had connections.
Right. He had connections with Finstock. Exactly. They were friends. Exactly. There's a different thing. If you're a follower or a fan of a player, you don't automatically get to vault levels to get a shot at anything, for God's sakes. You got to earn things in the world, and that's how you get credibility. Barbarian's been just incredible since he, as a person, since he walked out and helped, helped us and everything like that. So, he's proved himself and impressed us, the four of us, including Finstock, five of us, with how he came into our faction and just kind of really revolutionized what we were doing. So that's the way you do it. But, crowing about yourself, but not going into the fan leagues or thinking high of yourself is the easiest way to never get picked for the Schmodown. Yeah. Nothing irritates Christian more than someone saying they're so great, but refusing to prove it in the fan league. So just a little heads up for all of you. All right.
I also just want to mention that a lot of the fan league competitors, aside from like there's like less than 5 fan league competitors that are not only just very good, but at the same time, there's a lot of issues with them. Like Oyama, I love Oyama, but at the same time, there's like history with him. And, Chance, I love Chance. Chance is my favorite people. But, it's like Chance is very vocal about it. Being on the mic is not my forte.
Right.
I'm not chosen to be in Schmodown because of my skill set on the mic. So it's literally intense.
Barbarian had connections by working with Christian and Joel Silver and remaining tight with Ethan Irwin. And being friends with Finstock. And Chris, your brother was not picked from obscurity because you guys are Schmodown reaction people. So Christian knew who you were. So when he picked you, he knew he knew who you were. So that's the kind of thing. But maybe they will prove that they support instead of just saying it. What the hell is he talking about?
I don't know.
Ben, what are you raging about? We raised over $100,000 in the Schmodown community for Black Lives Matter. What the hell are you raging about? This is so stupid. Ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Anyway, okay, so
go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited. Schmobates is still going. And, I'm excited. We're going to be wrapping it up here very soon in the next few weeks. We're going to get a champion, and that champion is getting a Schmobates belt.
Yeah. Cool. Mm-hmm. Is there a semifinal that's already happened, or is it only just Ben and Justin White?
Oh, it's they're in so Ben's going to the finals. So he's going to be going up against either Bibbs or Danielle Ramirez.
Bibbs beat Billy Belford? Man.
So Belford's record right now is 3-1.
Sympathy votes or something, I guess. All right, let's move. Anything else? Anything else you got to promote? Your cinema bias?
Cinema bias. We're gonna be. Oh my gosh. Okay, guys. Okay, here coming up on Tuesday, we're having this fine fella over here. He's gonna come on Cinema Bias. We're gonna be talking about. Oh my gosh, Rosemary's Baby. It's gonna be so great. Oh my gosh, feminist horror. Oh, yeah. Political horror. Yes, I love it. I cannot wait to talk about it. It's gonna be so much fun. And I can't believe you've never seen it. That's so crazy to me.
This will be my first. It was one of those films that my mother and father barred me from seeing growing up as dictators that they were. They were benevolent dictators, but they did not want me to be exposed to this horror film. They thought it was a little too the devil, that kind of stuff is. And The Omen, I saw The Omen only when I was in my 30s. So those kind of devil horror films are more difficult for me to watch because we grew up in such a religious household that kind of stuff my parents felt was bringing evil into the house, so they didn't want that kind of stuff. So I have never seen it, and it's never come up in a Schmodown that I've competed in, so I haven't been forced to watch it. So now this seems like a good idea to watch it, and I just did Highlander. We're going to do Highlander for the Cinephiles later today. I've never seen Highlander until I watched it for the Cinephiles. So that was these. I love these little. I love shows that come along that motivate myself to watch these little movies, and enjoy them. And so it'll be fun to watch Rosemary's Baby in preparation for Cinema Bias with you and Drew Grant. That'll be a lot of fun. Absolutely. So
I feel like that's definitely something that, because there's so much that's going on surrounding it, when you see it, you'll see that. It's like one of those movies that's very almost very similar to Black Christmas, that it was very specific. It has to be released at that time because that movie can't be released now, I don't feel like. So I feel like that's an excellent choice for cinema bias, for cinephiles. Just saying.
Yeah.
Time comes. And then invite Clark Wolf on. Just saying. For
Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah, Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. It depends on how Steve feels about the movie. And as I said, I haven't watched it. I may not like the movie. That's quite possible. And we usually don't cover films we do not like, but we'll see. We'll see. I'll take a look and when in preparation for Cinema Bias.
Figure.
On my side of things, we got a lot going on the Outlaw Nation this week. Hope you've enjoyed the content. We had Mornings with the Outlaw, of course, on Monday. From now on, there will be no Wednesdays Mornings with the Outlaw because I just need a little more time to work on other shows, other pre-produced content that I want to have the channel start doing here a little more consistently. But I did drop a review for the Bruce Lee documentary last week, Be Water. We just had an interview with Dave Cyrus, one of the writers of The King of Staten Island. That's on the Deep Cut. Stephen McCaddy stopped by on Tuesday, and we recorded an episode of The Deep Cut that's out there. He speaks a lot about working with Zack Snyder on 300, and Watchmen, talks about his new film as well that's out there for people to enjoy. We had Game Time with Jay Washington and Winston Marshall and I. We had a great time on that show as well. And of course, Outlaw Nation that happened on Tuesday night with Kevin Smets. And speaking of the Schmodown, look, I went into that Outlaw Nation show just wanting to talk to Kevin about him being a child actor, his experiences auditioning for things at that age, who he ran into, what roles he was close to getting, and then talking about his journey from actor into becoming an editor for TV shows, and then, of course, his journey in the Schmodown, and talking a little Star Wars. But then Kaiser came in 40 minutes in, and all of that went out the window, and it was just Schmodown talk for 2 hours. So if you haven't watched that one, that is an absolute fun episode with me, Kevin Metz, and Kaiser, and Calvin does come in. For those of you who know the show and love Calvin, he's in for a few minutes. Saul stopped by. It was definitely one of the most interactive shows I've had on the Outlaw Nation, so definitely go and enjoy that as well. And of course, a new episode of the Geek Buddies dropped yesterday with me, Michael, and Shannon talking about all kinds of things going on in the world of geekdom. And if we think Comic-Con, these virtual Comic-Cons are going to be the way of the future going forward as attendance for these Comic-Cons start to drop, which they have been dropping over the last 2 or 3 years, will the virtual approach start to replace that for fans who are at home? And will they have access to the footage like you do going to Comic-Con? So we talk about all of that on the Geek Buddies, as well as the Kenobi series using the Mandalorian tech and a number of other things. All right. I think that's and then please make sure to follow me at The Rocha Says. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed to the channel. And please give us some likes. Where are we at right now? We're at 114 likes. We've got 191 of y'all watching. So please hit that like button, hit that thumbs up, and get us over 150. And for those of you who are watching later, hit that like button as well. You know, the most liked if we get a lot of likes, it kind of elevates the show and the channel and the YouTube algorithm. All right, let's move on to our next story. Alex, I think you're presenting this one as well. It's Kristen Stewart as Princess Diana. What?
Boy, yes. Boy, do I have some thoughts. So, woohoo. Okay, let's get a little cray-cray up in here. Okay, so Pablo Larraín is set to direct and produce Kristen Stewart cast in a Princess Diana film. So it's really going to be, it's like the new really big, casting, huge deal, especially with the virtual, it's called the Virtual Cannes Hot Package whole situation. The script is being done by a Mr. Stephen Knight. You might think, who is this guy? He's definitely done a lot of really big movies, 2007's comic book movie Eastern Promises. He did Locke with Tom Hardy, as well as 2019 Serenity. You may not like that one, but that's neither here or there. But, Pablo Larraín, he's a Chilean director. He hasn't done too many movies, but you might be a little more familiar with 2016's Jackie with Natalie Portman and that biographical film, which is really great. But this movie is really going to be it's going to take place in the early 90s when Diana decided that her marriage to Prince Charles wasn't working. And therefore she decided to veer from the path and that put her on the line that would one day make her queen. So the drama takes place over a span of 3 days, and in one of her final Christmas holidays in the House of Windsor with her family.
Oh, yes,
the Sandringham estate in Norfolk, England, which is a huge, crazy time. Considering everything going on, but production is expected to start in early next year. Now, everyone's already talking about how they're mega excited to see this. The director mentioned. Pablo Larraín even mentioned, we all grew up, at least I did in my generation, reading and understanding what a fairy tale is. And Princess Diana, she captured the world's heart, not just, everyone in the UK. So reading and understanding what a fairy tale is, usually the princess comes and finds the prince, invites her to become his wife and eventually become queen. That is the fairy tale. But when someone decides not to be the queen and says, you know what, I'd rather go off and be myself, it's a massive decision, a fairy tale upside down. I've always been very surprised by that and thought it would have been very hard to do. That is the heart of the movie. So it sounds like we're getting some serious drama. We're getting some not only family drama, we're getting a lot of, maybe some thriller aspects as well, considering there's so much stuff that went behind the scene. But Pablo, he's very firm with his stance. He's super excited in particular to work with Kristen Stewart, saying that I've seen the movies that Kristen has starred in. They're so diverse. It's incredibly different, showing massive layers in her diversity and strength as an actress. We're very happy to have her. She's very committed as a filmmaker. When you have someone who holds such a dramatic narrative weight with just her eyes, then you have a strong lead who can deliver, and that is what we're looking for. Oh my gosh, feelings. Let me hear them. I want to see them.
I'm of two minds, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm one of these people that there are certain people that no matter who you cast, they're never going to be good enough. And they're never going to capture the energy of the person. At times, occasionally, I've been wrong, but most of the time I'm right. For me personally, I've never seen a good Marilyn Monroe on screen. It doesn't exist. I know people love My Last Week with Marilyn with Michelle Williams, and she did certainly a good job in a lot of people's eyes. But Marilyn is it was an energy and an essence that's very difficult to capture. Her voluptuousness, her sexiness, her charm, her vulnerability, her softness, her edginess, all of that is so difficult to encapsulate in one human being. And Ashley Judd, of course, did a version of it for that HBO movie she did. I thought she did a good job as well, but no one's really captured it. I think Kurt Russell's the only one that really has ever captured Elvis on screen when he did that TV movie from ABC in the 70s. And then you look at someone like Princess Diana. I know Naomi Watts tried. That was terrible. Not even close. There is something about Diana that for me personally, who grew up a massive fan of Princess Diana, there is a softness to her, a steel that was born out of the experiences of abuse, emotional and mental, by Prince Charles, by the royal family, the things they did to her, which if you watch The Queen, you really see it brought home, are the things that made her come into her own and develop a thick skin. And of course, she was hassled her whole time as a celebrity. So certainly Kristen Stewart has had that experience of being hassled and followed and all of that through Twilight. So certainly I think she'll do a great job of capturing.
Twilight.
I'm sorry?
Definitely more than Twilight, but
No, I'm just saying that experience. Those independent, no one was chasing her down for independent movies like they did for Twilight, is what I'm saying. She's a good actress and has shown her talent in those movies. I'm not saying that. I'm saying she had the same experience as Diana in the Fame thing, where the paparazzi's coming after you, taking pictures. Remember, they caught her with the director. There's all that, or Robert Pattinson, or that whole relationship. Every second was monitored by the paparazzi and the media. So certainly in that way, she can connect to Diana. What I'm saying is that I don't know necessarily if she will capture the energy and the essence of Diana, because Kristen has always been a very strong, headstrong, independent person. And with Diana, initially, the vibe was that she was very much like, she was a kindergarten school teacher. She was very soft. She was very gentle. And then eventually, developed that steel that she needed to exist in the world and make change in the world. So I'm curious to see how Kristen captures that in the film. And certainly I doubted Natalie Portman as Jackie, and Paula Loren got her an Oscar nomination. So, we shall see what will come out of their collaboration in this film.
I totally agree on some aspects. I'm really excited for a lot of people about going on behind the scenes. And you are totally right. When it comes to creating these iconic figures, it feels damn near impossible. Marilyn Monroe, great example. Elvis. I do feel like actually my favorite adaptation of Elvis on the big screen, outside of Elvis, in its own movies, would have to be like Michael Shannon when he was in that movie. What was it, Nixon and Elvis or something like that? And it was
right, Michael Shannon. Yes,
so that was such a weird movie, but I was like, this feels so right, and I can't explain why. I also think I recently saw for the first time, it was on Amazon Prime. Go check it out if you get the chance. If you're not really sure about Kristen Stewart's work, if you really associate her with only the Twilight franchise, or most recently she was in Charlie's Angels, and you're like, why is she picked for this movie? I would definitely have to steer you in the direction of movies like Seberg recently that's on Amazon.
Well, the movie's not good. She's good in it. The movie's not good.
Yeah, I was going to point out the movie is not that great, but it's about a woman unraveling essentially with a lot of, she's being manipulated. She's, but also people are really there. They start not only manipulating her, but she's developing her own thought process, and she's becoming much more independent. And I feel like that a lot of that might contribute to this movie. Now, you're not kidding. The story itself, I am super psyched about. This, over the span of I love tight stories, especially if they're over a span of a few days. And especially with this world in particular that we really don't know all that much about. Movies that with Princess Diana, they don't do well. They really don't. They do. Really badly.
They don't. Right. Why is that? Because it's tough to capture her. And I'm curious, The Crown is going to walk into Diana in, I think, the next season. So I'm curious, because they got a lot of crap for the actress they cast for Camilla Parker Bowles, who is, let's be honest, she's not the most attractive person, but they cast a very attractive actress. So there was a lot of clamor about that. If they cast Diana with an actress that they feel is not 100% capturing Diana, there will be
that's
a loud anger coming from the fans if they start to make Camilla Parker Bowles look like a hero in this situation, which she isn't. So that's the thing, I think, at the end of the day that will be interesting to see how the Crown handles that. But yes, I'm sorry, Alex, go ahead.
Well, I mean, you're totally right on that. You know, when it comes to that, I do think that I feel like it's a great casting choice, but also there's not many casting choices you can make well with this. It's dang near impossible. I can't imagine anyone that could be cast in this one. This is, to me, sounds like the best option because I literally can't think of anyone else that could play her. I am also surprised they went with an American.
Oh, well, and look, they come over and take our roles all the time, Alex.
So, I mean, like, because it is a royal family situation, but, you know, that happens all the time. So that's neither here or there. Right. But this was a huge, but this was an exclusive recently with Mike Fleming Jr. from Deadline. And it's a really interesting story because it sounds like now more than ever, people are super invested. You know, people are tying her evolution with Princess Diana to Meghan Markle's story and how everything that she changed and how not only the monarchy has changed as a result of Meghan Markle becoming involved with them, you know, so, you know, and Harry also sticking by her. And he's like, you know what? I don't need to be a prince. I don't. I need Meghan. I need my lady. I need my cute ass baby, Archie. I mean... So I'm really kind of curious to see how this is going to, because people are being now more than ever really, really touchy about movies and magazines and everything that are really about the royal family, especially at a time where it is kind of controversial to this day.
And I'll let you know, my girlfriend is a massive fan of Princess Kate and the royal family. So me and her go round and round about it because I texted her about this Diana story and I said, "Can you believe this?" And she was like, "What is wrong with you?" And I was like, "Imagine them doing a film about Princess Kate." And he's like, "They would never do." So like it was just, we have our corners, you know what I'm saying? So it's very fun to debate it and talk about it. But I think Chris Adams brings up an excellent point. If it's in Diana's final years, Emily Blunt is the way they should have gone. That is not a bad suggestion. Emily Blunt, a British actress, certainly incredibly beautiful and certainly can convey that steel with the softness, or the softness with the steel underneath. So that could have been interesting. But I think she's already played, she played young Victoria in that film, Victoria. So that maybe she's had already played monarchs and doesn't want to. Plus, Paula Lorraine likes to cast against type, what you might think, what you might consider, and kind of bring out the energy from the actress. Certainly did that, as I mentioned earlier, with Natalie Portman as Jackie Onassis in that Jackie film. So I think this is for you casting this straight up as a mainstream film. Yes, Emily Blunt's a great choice, but Paula Lorraine wants to do something else with this movie. So casting an independent film actress like Kristen Stewart, which she is now, regardless of Charlie's Angels or the Twilight stuff, I think she has made her bones in independent cinema and gotten love from a lot of critics, a lot of fans who enjoy her work in independent cinema, just like Pattinson. So it's great to see how two of them have broken away from that Twilight stuff and have really forged their own paths. And I just think it's a shame that we couldn't get her as Catwoman, because Kristen Stewart as Catwoman with Robert Pattinson Batman would have been incredible in my opinion, but I understand why they didn't do it.
I really would have loved to see that, just because independently I think they're both fantastic. And I fought so aggressively with some people when I remember, like, when Battinson, the whole thing came out. So many people were like aggressively against it. And I'm just like, people, one, you need to calm down. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is bonkers how like you are more aggressive at this than, you know, Trump right now. But you know, that's a whole conversation that frustrates me. Okay, so I'm sorry, we're not getting political on here. We're not.
That's a separate show. That's another show that might be coming to the Outlaw Nation. But yes, go ahead.
But at the same time, okay, so I am really excited about this. It sounds like a really tight story. I mean, but going back to, I would have loved to see Kristen Stewart as Catwoman. However, I know it would have almost taken me out of the film if I see them on screen to death.
That's why they didn't do it
as a couple. It would have been like, if like William Shatner just happened just to walk on by making a Star Trek quote, would have been like, what? Where are we?
I guess,
What movie are we watching? It would have taken me out of the movie, and the entire time I would have been thinking about, what's going on behind the scene? What was that like? Oh my gosh, what was like the promos like for this? You know, are they gonna? How are they doing sex scenes? What? Huh? Was that awkward? So it's really, really interesting, but I'm glad they didn't go in that direction. But you never know. Maybe they'll do other works together because they still talk pretty positively about each other to this day.
I agree. Let's get to some super. Well, we'll see. I mean, they're still having to sell the film, shoot the film, do all that with the film. So we'll see if it comes to fruition. But certainly, Paulo Larraín has certainly developed a strong following he's a Chilean filmmaker. So as a son of South Americans, I'm certainly in his corner. So I want to see what he can create with this situation. And I like that they're calling it Spencer, which is her maiden name before she got part of the royal family. So it's definitely about her, kind of forging her own path after the Charles situation. What a jerk. All right. Chapstick Cereal says, don't really follow Stewart in history of the UK crown. Okay. All right. Thanks for letting us know, Chapstick Cereal.
That's very fair.
Yeah, appreciate that. But there is a lot to explore if you want to. Certainly there's a lot to explore if you want to. All right, let's jump into some Streamlabs that have come through here. John Doe just donated some money and didn't say any comments. So thank you, John Doe. Appreciate the kind. It's very kind of you. Andrew Burnett donated something. He said, keep up the good work, you two. No offense to K-Stu, but no one can play a good Princess Di. All right, man. So you're certainly entitled to your opinion for sure. But, people are going to try.
But I want a Princess Di movie.
Well, you did. The Naomi Watts one.
That was like over a decade ago. And
it was like, what? Alex.
No, W? No, wait. Which one am I thinking of? Wait, no. Wait, I'm thinking about the wrong one.
You are.
I think about the one W that was directed by Madonna.
Oh, that one wasn't even about Princess Diana, though.
I'm thinking about the wrong.
You know what? But you're not wrong because Diana is 2013. We're in 2020, so it wasn't a decade ago, but it certainly was some time ago, 7 years ago. So that's fair.
Come down a little
I apologize.
Okay? I apologize. Your stats is way too high right now, considering. Calm down.
Don't tell me to calm down.
Calm down. As a benevolent dictator, you come down.
All right, fine. You've got my best interest in mind. I'll calm down. All right, let's move on to our next story, which is Peter Jackson's story here. I'm excited to talk about this. I know some people give me shit for not being the biggest Lord of the Rings fan, but I am a massive Peter Jackson fan, and I do enjoy those Hobbit films. But Peter Jackson and his partner Fran Walsh have moved WETA Studios into the animation field. They are creating WETA Animated to generate for the first time original content in animation for cinema and streaming platforms. The new CEO of WETA Digital will be Prem Akaraju, who co-founded SR Labs, formerly known as Screening Room, and he'll be doing it with Sean Parker. Parker, who became an investor in WETA Digital last year, has joined its board as a vice chairman. Majority owners Jackson and Walsh, who you see there, will underwrite the creative ambitions of WETA Animation by scripting, producing, and directing several animated projects for the company. They are in the midst of working on a live-action film that Jackson plans to direct, but they will be focusing on the animation as well. We are huge fans of animated storytelling in all of its forms, but it can be a long, protracted, and awfully costly way to make movies. That's in part why we have created the company to change the model and open the doors to filmmakers and storytellers who might not otherwise be given the chance to show what they can do, as what Peter Jackson said in a recent statement. They work WETA Animated will work alongside WETA Digital state-of-the-art visual effects facility that is based in Wellington, New Zealand. Certainly a lot of some of our fans, and certainly Malcolm here is a big New Zealand person, so he knows all about WETA. And so I have people who've gone down and gone to WETA Digital and gone to the Shire, really enjoyed exploring that as well. Let's see what else I can tell you about it. Yeah, Jackson and Walsh met Akaraju and Parker as they came aboard as proponents for Screen Room, and Jackson believed he found in Akaraju exactly the exec he needed to make the move into computer animation so that he and Walsh can focus on being the storytellers. And that's a great point, Alex, don't you think? Like creatives sometimes have a hard time transitioning into the business technical side of things, and it's good to hire someone who you trust, who can handle that, and you can focus on the creative stuff because you know that is handled and gives you some peace of mind to create. So does this excite you that now they're moving into digital animation for their next step as a company here with WETA?
Yeah, so I'm really excited about this idea, honestly, just because, when you think about Jackson in particular. You know, I don't know about you, but I'm thinking of King Kong. I'm thinking of Heavenly Creatures and a Golem and everything. I'm thinking of these really great fully CGI, you know, creatures that are really, you know, with motion capture and everything. And he's mentioned that he's one of the people that are like not only just heavily involved, he's one of the majority owners of this company as well going into this, you know, but they're also talking about, you know, they're working with James Cameron's Cameron's Avatar sequels. They worked on Avengers Endgame, a lot of these people. So obviously, you know, it sounds like they're getting a lot of backing overall from a lot of people, like really higher ups in the industry, which makes me really excited. And initially going into this, before I kind of write about it a little bit further, I honestly got some vibes that was kind of similar to George Lucas a little bit when he started his own, you know, I can't remember what the company is called. Something
what do you mean, ILM? Yeah, ILM.
ILM. Yes. So with ILM, so, you know, regardless of how you feel about, you know, Star Wars movies in general, what you can't argue is their influential and just their complete technological influence when it comes to Hollywood in general. And the same thing can be definitely argued for Peter Jackson as well. Yeah. So I'm excited for his direct involvement in this kind of situation.
Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, remember those original Hobbit films were from Rankin and Bass and were animated, and so it's kind of funny it'd be so interesting if he found his way back into the world of Middle Earth and maybe generated an animated film or animated series based on the characters in Middle Earth. Certainly more happens after Aragorn achieves what he achieves. Maybe there's something there to explore and create that they can do animated wise as well. Either way, I think these are incredible talents to be now moving into a new genre, animation, and seeing what films they can create. So I love Peter Jackson. Yeah, like I said, I'm not always the biggest fan of some of the Lord of the Rings. Certainly most of Lord of the Rings I enjoy, but some I don't. And King Kong I can take or leave, but I enjoy his Hobbit films. I enjoy Frighteners. I enjoy so much Beautiful Creatures. All so much in his resume that is there to explore and enjoy, and so I'm excited to see what they'll do next with animation. So that will be absolutely.
Just want to correct you there.
Yeah,
it's Heavenly Creatures.
Oh, sorry, Heavenly Creatures. You're right.
That's a very different movie.
It's the one I beat Paulo Yama on, I think, South Carolina. Shout out South Carolina.
See what you did there?
My bad. It wasn't on purpose. All right, we're at 130 likes. Come on, guys, but 170 know what? Get us over 150 likes before we end the show here. We got about 15 minutes left in the show. Let's move on to a very sad story here. It's one we kind of previewed earlier at the start of the show, and some people have sent in a super chat and made comments about it. And that is, unfortunately, this morning we woke up to the passing of Ian Holm, beloved actor Ian Holm, who there you see in the Lord of the Rings movies. He played so many great characters that a lot of us know. Ash in Alien, as I said, Bilbo Baggins in Lord of the Rings. For me personally, him playing athletics coach Sam Mussabini in Chariots of Fire, one of my favorite films ever made, will always put him into a firm place in my heart. Certainly his appearances in Henry V, in Hamlet, in so many other films. Certainly we just mentioned The Sweet Hereafter, or somebody mentioned The Sweet Hereafter as well. He was 88 years old. He was born in Essex, Southeast England in 1931. He attended RADA there in London, then moved into television and movies as well. A lot of people will remember him also from The Fifth Element as Vito Cornelius, or in The Aviator. He became a commander of the British Empire, CBE, in 1989, and in 1998 he was knighted. So he is Sir Ian Holm. He passed away in hospital Friday morning after a Parkinson's-related illness, with his family at his bedside, and said his agent, Alex Irwin. Irwin released a statement and said his portrayal of Bilbo Baggins in The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogies ensured the magic of his craft could be shared by all generations. He was a genius of stage and screen, winning multiple awards and loved by directors, audiences, and his colleagues alike. His sparkling wit always accompanied a mischievous twinkle in his eye. Yes, absolutely. Charming, kind, and ferociously talented. We will miss him hugely. BAFTA tweeted a tribute to him, and Edgar Wright tweeted as well, said, R.I.P. Ian Holm, a genius actor who brought considerable presence to parts funny, heartbreaking, and terrifying. Alex, what's your exposure to Ian Holm? Is this a sad one for you as well?
Ian Holm I feel like he's definitely a character actor that a lot of people don't think about. He's for me, for a lot of movies, he was that one guy.
Yeah.
Exactly. Where I recognize his face.
Guy,
that one guy. And then as a character actor. But once I started getting a little older and I started recognizing him for a lot of movies, Aliens, one of my favorite movies of all time, Fifth Element, obviously, the Lord of the Rings films, but also he was in Ratatouille. He voiced Skinner. Oh my gosh. He's been involved in so many movies that I've loved over the years. And it really hurts my heart knowing when this came out, honestly, just because it was like one of those situations where I was like, I can't believe he's been an active part of a lot of my favorite movies. And I had no idea who he was, until very recently, only in the past like a year or two, until I actually knew his name. Right. So it really does hurt my heart. And I've never seen Chariots of Fire personally, but I know he's the running coach in that movie.
Yes,
is that right?
Yeah,
the established running coach, like the esteemed running coach.
Yeah.
But everyone that's worked with him has talked nonstop about how he's a delight to work with. He's so wonderful. He's a very genuine person, and at the same time, he holds like a certain gravitas, a certain authority whenever he's on set for whatever role, big or small. And not to mention, what a wonderful theater actor as well.
Yes, and acting since if I've got this correctly, acting since the 1950s. So certainly numerous decades. It started in 1957, his first official credit, all the way up into 2014. So that's an incredible legacy to leave as an actor, to be wanted and desired, and also earning multiple awards and earning multiple opportunities, both in film, television, and stage as an actor. To be in demand all the way until the end is an incredible achievement to pull off as an actor, and you are blessed to have so many people on board. So RIP to
Beloved as well.
What's that? And to love, right? Exactly.
Yeah, Beloved. It's very difficult to be involved in Hollywood and movies and theater and everything as long as you are without at some point getting shit on, unfortunately. True. But very consistently, he's very beloved by everyone he's worked with. So that's very, I don't want to say it shouldn't be difficult to do, but at the same time, he's been involved for a very long time. So that's amazing.
Yeah. RIP to the great Ian Holm. Much love to him there. All right. And, send in your tributes to him all across social media. I've seen it already. So many creatives expressing their love for him. All right. And let's move on to our last story, Alex, before we move on. And that's certainly connected to what we just mentioned here. Edgar Wright, Baby Driver director Edgar Wright. He has a new film that he is closed on. And I'm excited to see more information. He is attached to Universal Pictures' adaptation of the kidnap movie called The Chain, which is based on a best-selling novel by Adrian McKinty. Jane Goldman has been hired to write the script. The Chain is centered on a woman who learns that her 11-year-old daughter has been kidnapped and discovers that the only way to get her back is to pay a ransom and kidnap another child. Her daughter will be released only when the next victim's parents kidnap another child. So Wright's thrillers Last Night in Soho was recently moved back by Focus Features to April 23rd of next year. And of course, people know him from the Cornetto trilogy and Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which he did a live tweet party for recently in honor of the COVID and coronavirus thing, to get people just to distract them from it. So certainly a gentleman who's got a lot of love from a lot of people in the film going community or film watching community. Alex, what are your thoughts on this idea, this film, this storyline?
It's really kind of an interesting pick to me, honestly, because I love Edgar Wright. Baby Driver, so much fun, and I loved Up in the Air and everything. But I don't really think of Edgar Wright and think psychological thriller, kidnap thriller, drama. I don't think detective story or anything along those lines.
Good point.
I think of quirky, fun, colorful. Really funny. you know, and so that was really surprising, that kind of correlation. But Adrian McKenty, who wrote the Chain novel, he said on Twitter, wow, this is exciting. I'm so excited to work with people I admire, such as Edgar Wright, Jane Goldman, Shane Salerno, and Universal Pictures. So obviously there's a lot of really amazing people coming together on this. And I have no doubt that Edgar Wright's going to do great. It's just... what kind of tone are we setting with this? You know, it's, you know, the plot itself, it's a, you know, like you said, it's a woman who has to kidnap another child in order to get her own child back. So you're getting this, you know, it's the whole situation is really circling on itself. So
it's got it doesn't have the Ring vibe. It kind of has that Ring vibe to it. To save my child, I've got to get someone else to watch this tape so they die in 7 days and not my child. So it has that kind of vibe to it. But also it's a great element of this idea of having to kidnap another child so that you put another set of parents through what you're going through.
It reminds me of The Box with Cameron Diaz and James Marsden.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, right. That's a good one, too. Yeah, absolutely. That kind of vibe to it as well. So it's like, okay, well, who is willing to do that? And we see this all the time, how people have principles and morals. And then all of a sudden, when their child gets involved, all of that can go out of the window because all they care about is protecting their child. So that I mean, maybe in that way, this could be a more layered and complex film from Edgar Wright. So I'm excited about that. And Jane Goldman, who's the writer on this thing, she has written Stardust, Kick-Ass, X-Men First Class, Kingsman: The Secret Service. Some people enjoy Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. She wrote the Netflix Rebecca that's coming out. The adaptation for that's coming out on Netflix, and The Little Mermaid live action adaptation that's coming from Disney. So certainly Jane Goldman is a great writer to have on your team to bring this thing to life, I think.
It's solidified. I don't want to see this movie if that's the case. If that's the time they're going to take. We're going to go and we're going to take a kidnap story.
Yeah.
Now more than ever. And make it funny.
Yeah.
With the same script as the people that did Kick-Ass and the Kingsman Secret Service.
Yeah.
What?
So maybe there's maybe it's not as serious as the situation might warrant. Maybe there's a little more of humor in this film. That's certainly a valid point to make. Yeah.
What? You know what? Again, prove me wrong. I love being proven wrong. Edgar Wright, he could completely floor me, and it could be my favorite movie of the year. Yeah. Who knows? You know, that stuff happens all the time, and it's. I know, but also something that did get me just a little bit more excited. Is also knowing some of the behind the scenes people also involved. Yeah. Jane Goldman. I know you said it's going to be writing a script, but the producers Eric Fellner and Tim Bevan. They're going to be the producers, and they've worked on a lot of thrillers, a lot of Oscar-worthy films like Les Mis, the musical, Atonement, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. So when I heard that association, I was like, I'm in. I want that, because I love me a good, great psychological thriller. But that I don't like I really, to me, this is a very serious subject. This kind of idea, possibly kidnapping a child and, with ransoming and putting other people through that whole situation as well. I don't like the idea that could possibly be taken in a lighter tone.
Yeah.
That's not something to make light of. So, but I like being proven wrong. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. That's for sure. And Rick Samoris pointing out, hey, Todd Phillips directed the Joker. So certainly the Joker movie. So
exactly.
certainly
I didn't like
possible.
the Joker, but
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. But I totally understand where you're coming from. Outside your wheelhouse, and directors gotta take some risks and try something new. So I appreciate that.
Agreed. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. He's attached, so who knows? We saw with Ant-Man, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to direct it. So we'll see down the road if he stays on the project and makes the film. But certainly, I'm excited to see him try to spread his wings a little bit into a new I don't know, a new genre of movies or a new kind of movie that's a little more serious than stuff he's done before. So we'll see for sure. All right. Thank you, everybody. I think that does it for this episode of Mornings with the Outlaw. Can't thank you enough for taking the time to watch us. Please remember, hit that like button as we're wrapping up the show here. And of course, remember to subscribe to the channel below as well. Alex, where can they find you and everything that you're doing?
Right there on Twitter at @real_Alex Mack. You can also find me at the Call to Action Podcast. If you're not sure what that is, totally fine. Just YouTube it and you can find me. And I'll try to show you a good time on all things YouTube and schmo baits and all that good stuff. So it's a fun time. Yeah.
There you go. Yep. She's a great host. She's a lot of fun to watch on those shows for sure. So give them a chance and follow her on her social media. Give her some love, for God's sakes, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all as well to those of you who watch us live in the chat. Really appreciate how lively the chat got today. It was pretty strong chat. I love it when you guys go after each other, or sometimes when you all have great debates. I am watching and reading as Alex and I discuss the stories as well. So I always enjoy reading the chat and seeing. So I love the interaction. So thank you so much for taking the time. And if you're downloading us and listening to us on the podcast network, thank you very much for doing that as well. For those of you who may not know, the Outlaw Nation Podcast Network still going strong. I apologize for last week. We're a little more sporadic on dropping those episodes last week. This week, we've gotten back on track and dropping those episodes. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a one-man operation. There's only, some things are going to slip out of the cracks sometimes. So I'm doing the best I can. And I appreciate you all being patient with it and enjoying the content that we're putting out here. Don't forget, later on today at 4 p.m. PT, me and Aaron Turner are back for another live episode of Strong Style. We're going to talk about Vince McMahon and this WWE development wrestler testing positive for COVID-19 and what it might mean for Vince and the company. Edge and his injury scare, the debut there on AEW. And, of course, we're going to revisit this classic, fantastic match between AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura from Wrestle Kingdom 10. Shinsuke Nakamura is the reason we call it Strong Style, the show, because we respect his style of wrestling. That Japanese style of wrestling, pro wrestling, is fantastic. So come join us live 4 p.m. PT for that. Follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. Don't forget the Patreon right above, patreon.com/John Rocha. We're going to drop the first episode of The Outpost later on tonight or tomorrow. And those of you who are $5 and above patrons, it's a show where you can send in any question, and I will bring your question up on screen with your name, and I will answer it there on the show for you all. So please, if you're a $5 or above patron, go and find that post. I think you have till noon to submit your questions, noon today, and I will be shooting it later on tonight or tomorrow and putting up for you all to enjoy. All right, thanks to Sean Barreto, thanks to Andrew Hale, who are moderating with us today. Thank you to Jake Yacovetta for everything he does for the Outlaw Nation, and thanks to all of you. Well, thanks to Alex Shashek as well for joining me again, and thanks to all of you for being a part of the Outlaw Nation. And we will see you Monday for another brand new episode of Mornings with the Outlaw. Until then, have a fantastic weekend. Take your time to do what you need to do to decompress. I know things are tough right now, to decompress and do what you need to do to come center, and then come back and join us on Monday morning for another brand new live episode and fun episode of Mornings with the Outlaw. Take care until then.
And wear a mask.
And wear a mask.